go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to the intersection of business and politics right here on Robert Cardoza Live, where I do an honest, unbiased analysis of the issues confronting you today that affect the decisions that you're going to make for both your personal and your business life. I come to you Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time on Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, MyCast, Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide. I also broadcast on Roar 1776 Radio every Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google+, and also YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com for archives of both my radio and television shows. You can also access my show live right from my website simply by clicking on the icon labeled Listen Live. Email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. It's where I get the emails I deal with here on the show. And you can call into my show if you want to comment or just engage me in conversation about anything. You can dial directly into the studio at 909-545-6516. Again, that number, 909-545-6516. Now, on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation the IRS loses, and I'm going to answer your emails just like I always do. Today, my expert contributor is going to be David Garrett on the law, and my special guest will be Sean LaFave with his ongoing series, Geared for Wellness. But right now, I want you to know that at 4:02 p.m. Pacific Time, it is currently 75 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. But you know what? Right now, let's deal with the news. I've encapsulated this so we can deal with a lot of things that are going on. In that way, we can cover a lot of stuff in a very short period of time, and you can talk to your neighbors, your friends, your peers, people you work with or work for, and they'll know that you know what's going on in the world today. Now, first off, ready to run. Clinton to announce a 2016 bid on Sunday. Hillary Rodham Clinton will end months of speculation and launch her highly anticipated 2016 presidential campaign on Sunday, skipping a flashy kickoff rally in favor of conversations with voters about the economic needs of middle-class families in the next generation. Clinton, the former First Lady and Secretary of State who lost the 2008 nomination to Barack Obama, will begin this time by courting voters in living rooms and cafes in early voting states. If victorious in 2016, she would become the nation's very first female president. The first official word of her candidacy will come in a video posted on social media and to supporters online, according to two people familiar with her plans. She will then turn to states such as Iowa and New Hampshire, looking to connect directly with voters in small, intimate settings. The people familiar with her plans spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss them publicly. Clinton has offered glimpses in recent speeches of why she will again seek the White House. Another preview came Friday in the epilogue to the paperback version of her 2014 book, Hard Choices. You know what? Time will come. It looks like she's going to go unopposed by the Democratic Party, but she's going to have plenty of opposition from the GOP hopefuls coming up. We've got two. Soon we'll have, I'm going to guess, somewhere between 15 and 20 GOP hopefuls that would like to run for president. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Hillary Clinton. GOP hopefuls give the NRA event an earful on Hillary Clinton. The prospect of Hillary Rodham Clinton's imminent presidential campaign dropped like a gift from the heavens at the National Rifle Association's annual convention today. A succession of potential Republican presidential rivals slung criticism and cracked jokes about the Democratic candidate-to-be, and NRA leader Wayne LaPierre, never given to understatement, predicted doom for the nation if she should win. Hillary Rodham Clinton will bring a permanent darkness of deceit and despair forced upon the American people to endure, LaPierre said. The NRA Executive Vice President and CEO vowed that the powerful gun lobby would stand shoulder to shoulder to prevent her from becoming the next president. Clinton plans to announce her candidacy for the Democratic nomination on Sunday. Many speakers at the NRA convention took the opportunity to say something about it. Is this the Ready for Hillary gathering? Joked Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. God only knows what's going to happen in these cases, but the blood is going to spill, I can guarantee you that. Here's one for you. A man was shot by police, had much to celebrate in recent months. Yep, we're talking about North Charleston, South Carolina. Less than 2 months before he was killed, Walter Lemire Scott turned 50 and wanted everyone around him to join in the celebration. It was February, and Scott's family had taken him to dinner at a Japanese steakhouse. As waiters and other staff gathered around to sing Happy Birthday, Scott jumped up on the table and started dancing. He had everybody in the restaurant laughing. Rodney Scott said of his older brother, that's the kind of person he was. Walter Scott has much to celebrate. His job as a warehouse forklift operator, which had begun as temporary work over the holidays, was going so well, his boss was determined to keep him as a permanent hire. And he popped the question to his longtime girlfriend, who had agreed to become Scott's third wife. But Scott also had a problem that kept him looking over his shoulder. The father of 4 had fallen behind again on his child support payments. Failure to pay can mean jail time in South Carolina, and Scott had been locked up 3 times since 2008. His family suspects it was Scott's fear of returning to jail that led him to run during the traffic stop last Saturday. Scott ended up dead, shot in the back. The police officer who opened fire was charged with murder after shooting was caught on video. The case stirring outrage against the country as the latest instance on the unarmed black man killed by a white officer. Let's see here. It doesn't get better. It just keeps getting worse. Don't you just kind of get tired of the news these days? You can't say anything good. You can't find anything good. You can't find anything worthwhile. It just makes things horrible. How about this? Stage is being set for a historic Obama-Castro meeting on Saturday. Panama City, President Barack Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro moved toward a groundbreaking meeting on the sidelines of the Summit of the Americas today I should say, in what would be a remarkable display of reconciliation between 2 nations with the leadership of the Western Hemisphere gathered around them. The powerful symbolism of a face-to-face exchange Saturday between the 2 leaders could signal progress, even though both sides are still working through milestone issues that would lead to the opening of embassies in Washington and Havana, the first stage in a new diplomatic relationship. Obama cast the move to end 50 years of hostile relations as a triumph for the Cuban people. As the United States begins a new chapter in our relationship with Cuba, we hope it will create an environment that improves the lives of the Cuban people, he told a meeting of civil society groups, including Cuban dissidents, not because it is imposed by us, the United States, but through the talent and ingenuity and aspirations and the conversations among Cubans from all walks of life so they can decide what the best course is for their prosperity. Now, don't go away. When we come back, I've got more news for you. We're going to talk about the 2 women killed in Illinois tornadoes, and they were neighbors and friends. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. And we're back. Looks like we're having some problems with our commercial break here. And so what we're going to do is go right on back to the news. Let's see if we can't get this this board working a little better. It's my first time at this thing, so you'll see what happens. And that doesn't seem to be working, so we'll find out what the heck is going on when it comes to this doggone thing working. I don't know why it's not. I have no doggone idea. But in any event, we've got to get it working in some way. But let's go ahead and deal with the news, and then we'll come back to it. The 2 women killed in Illinois tornadoes were neighbors and friends. This comes from Fairdale, Illinois. 2 women killed by a devastating tornado system that barreled through northern Illinois shared a friendship, favors, and ultimately a neighborhood that turned out to be a prime target of a twister that also leveled much of their rural hamlet. Jacqueline Cardoza, 69, was found this morning in the rubble of her Fairdale home, not far from where Geraldine Schultz, 67, died Thursday night when the tornado bore down on their neighborhood. The storm cut through the region about 80 miles west of Chicago, injuring more than a dozen rippling buildings and their foundations. Schultz, known as Jerry, and remembered by neighbors in the community of about 150 people as kind-hearted, hosted annual Christmas parties, and made a point of driving Cardoza to clinics for medical treatment. Cardoza, known as Jackie, was described by friends as a friendly and quick-witted woman who spoke her mind. What else is up in the news? Well, let's talk about Pakistan votes to stay out of the Yemen conflict. Pakistan's parliament voted unanimously today to stay out of the Saudi-led air campaign targeting Shiite rebels in Yemen, offering instead to mediate a solution to a blow to the Saudi Arabia's attempts to build a Sunni front in an increasing sectarian conflict. Pakistan's decision is unlikely to greatly affect the Saudi-led coalition's military capabilities, but it was an embarrassment to the kingdom from a traditionally close ally, now reluctant to get pulled into the conflict that is threatening to escalate into a new proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Saudi Arabia had been seeking to expand the coalition made up of fellow Gulf nations as well as Egypt and Sudan, which has waged a nearly 3-week campaign of airstrikes against the rebels known as Houthis, and is reportedly considering a ground incursion at the same time. Shiite reportedly considering a ground incursion powerhouse in Iran, which backs the Houthis, also lobbied Pakistan and other Sunni nations to back a ceasefire and a negotiated end to the conflict. Now let's see here. I think that what we're going to do is I'm going to continue to see what I can to get this commercial going for us. I don't understand why, I don't understand it because it's a whole brand new system for me. We're going to try and get this thing running again, and that's not working. I don't understand why that's not working. The equalizers are on, everything is going, everything seems to be working properly. Let's see here. Mixer is good, and I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going on. Everything is enabled, and it should be fine. So I don't understand what's going on with this thing. Let's try it one more time. That still didn't work. Let's see if we can move this down and up. Get that going. Maybe if we cue it, and then try it. That didn't work. Let's see. What if we air it now and uncue it? Let's try that. There we go. Now we've got it cooking, and we're back to work, and we're going to get this thing going. I'm sorry for the delay. You know, this whole system is a little new to me, but I would guess that by Monday afternoon I ought to have it down pat. At least I'm certainly hoping that I'm going to have it down pat. That's what the plan is in any event. Let's go ahead and continue on with the news. Firms push high-tech solutions to fortify airport perimeters. Technology firms increasingly pitch new sensors and software to U.S. airports as a way to bolster exterior security and keep intruders out. But such digital barriers come with a hefty price tag and don't always work. An Associated Press investigation this week documented 268 instances in which people hopped over, crawled under, drove cars through, or otherwise breached the fences and gates protecting the perimeters of 31 of the nation's busiest airports from January 2004 through January 2015. How to address the problem is up for debate. There's a lot of things that can be done, said John Piscol, retired director of the Transportation Security Administration, who, like airport officials, argues the perimeters are secure and that breaches are rare. The question is whether there's an appetite for paying for it. Congressman Eric Swalwell, a Democrat from California, said the number of airport breaches over the past decade is cause for action and that new technologies should be installed on perimeters. Bringing down an airliner and killing innocent Americans remains our enemy's highest value target. Porous airport perimeters are major vulnerabilities that terrorists could exploit, he said. I'm continuing to call for airports to use technologies that would alert officials the moment a perimeter is breached. Well, I guess so, for Pete's sake, let's go ahead and let the whole world know that we have a hole in our security, right? Let's just make sure that if the terrorists don't know already, that we let them know that there's a way they can get through to us. How absolutely ridiculous is that? I have no clue for any of this. How about this one? An Associated Press news break. A census suspect pleaded guilty to manslaughter. A man charged in a crime spree that left a Census Bureau guard dead and a police officer wounded was previously convicted of manslaughter and recently was arrested in an assault case involving his visibly afraid girlfriend, according to court documents obtained today by the Associated Press. Ronald Anderson, 48 years old, was arrested February 17th on a charge of assaulting his girlfriend in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Prince George's County, according to court records. He was released the day of his arrest. The officer responding to a domestic dispute call said that the man's girlfriend, who was 20 years old, was clearly afraid. The victim was shaking, crying, and was whispering while speaking because she was afraid of the suspect hearing her, the officer wrote, according to the documents. The woman, whose 10-month-old son was home, told police that Anderson had hit her several times, knocking her into walls because he thought she was looking at another man, the records say. Another court record filed in D.C. Superior Court shows that Anderson pleaded guilty to manslaughter while armed in 1991 in Washington, D.C. No other details were immediately available about the case. So, gosh, he's been pleaded guilty to manslaughter. God, you don't really believe he actually hurt this person, do you? Golly, no, he would never do a thing like that, I'm guessing. How ridiculous is that? It's just throw him in jail and throw away the key. That's what we ought to be doing. And one last one. Jordan Spieth sets the lowest 36-hole score in Masters history. Jordan Spieth made today feel like Sunday at the Masters. Fans rose to their feet and applauded when Spieth walked onto the 12th tee, and for the next 2 hours, ovations greeted him on tee boxes and greens. The red number next to his name on the leaderboard, 14 under par, was better than 11 of the last 13 winners. It was easy to forget the Masters was only half over. And the 21-year-old Texan tapped in for par in a 6 under 66. He broke the 36-hole record at the Masters that had stood for 39 years. Spieth was at 14 under 130, a two-day total match by only 3 other players in major championship history. And his 5-shot lead over Charlie Hoffman looked even longer, considering that Spieth was a runner-up in his Masters debut last year, and he came to Augusta this year as the hottest player in golf. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, it's going to be the IRS loses, and the first case up is failure to pay taxes was not willful. I'll tell you all about it right after these brief messages. Oh yeah, here we are, my favorite part of the show, the IRS losers. You know, this sends chills up and down my spine, sets the hair up on the back of my neck. I just love this section, so let's get right to it, because I know you're going to love it too. We could actually call this Business Winners Hotline, but it's actually the IRS losers. First case up, failure to pay taxes was not willful. Here's the case. A business owner who owed back taxes declared bankruptcy, but the IRS said his non-payment was willful because he had improved his home and bought a luxury car while his tax bill mounted. So it would not be discharged. So he went to court for some justice. This is what the judges actually had to say about it. The individual had income of more than $1 million and owed $5 million of stock on margin when the stock market crash of 9/11 attacks and the recession suddenly wiped out his stocks and cut his business income by 75%. He had committed to the personal expenditures earlier and had mistakenly believed that he could deduct his stock losses to offset his tax bill. There was no evidence of any wrongful attempt to avoid the taxes, so they absolutely are dischargeable and were. You know, the IRS, God, don't you just love it when the IRS loses? I know I do. Here's another case for you. IRS lost. They must pay for delaying a refund. Here's the case. Dino Grisanti entered an installment agreement with the IRS to pay taxes owed by a business that he had purchased and abided by the agreement. But the IRS seized a $17,000 refund owed to him anyhow. Grisanti went to court to get the refund and the IRS then paid it. Grisanti then asked to have the IRS pay his legal fees. The IRS answered to that, the award isn't justified because it had never rejected the refund claim and, in fact, paid it soon after the court filing. So he went to court for some justice. This is what the judge actually had to say. The IRS sat on that refund for 2 years, giving an excuse of the check is in the mail. And it seemed no coincidence that the refund was granted only after the court filing. So the fees are absolutely awarded in this case, and the IRS has got to send that check out immediately with interest, by the way. Let me give you the last one. The IRS concedes. Now, here's a case. When the IRS concedes, it's because they're pretty sure they can't win in court, and that's exactly what we're talking about here, the IRS conceding. In this particular case, a company owner can make restorative payments to a retirement plan. Let me tell you about it. An individual owned one company with 2 retirement plans in which he was the sole participant, and another company that he had many employees in the retirement plan. Here's the snag. The trustee of the latter plan embezzled a large amount from it. Federal regulators said that the owner was a fiduciary of the depleted plan who could face legal action as a result. Now, the remedy to this? To avoid government lawsuits, the owner proposed to transfer the assets in his own 2 retirement plans to the depleted plan as a restorative payment. The IRS ruling? The payment is permitted and will not be a contribution to the employee's plan, which would affect its status or their taxes. It is a taxable distribution, but he also gets an offsetting business deduction for it. And you know what? That is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Now, let's talk about inside the IRS. Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things? Well, I know I sure would. And that's what we're talking about right now when we talk about inside the IRS. And first up, we're going to talk about volunteer preparer foul-ups. You know, according to a recently released report by the Treasury Inspector General, more than half of the tax returns prepared by federal government volunteers income tax assistance program during the last tax filing season were inaccurate. The Inspector General based his report on the results of a test sample of 36 tax returns. 22 of the 36 were found to contain errors. In recent years, the IRS has been criticized for delegating too much of its own responsibility to taxpayer service to volunteers who lack the experience to gather the proper information and apply the appropriate tax law. Here's the lesson for you. You get what you pay for. If you got it for nothing, guess what it's worth? Yeah. So I'll tell you what, how about this? What small business owners are going to jail for these days. You know, filing false payroll tax returns indicating smaller salaries, restaurant owners in particular, seem to be a good target for the IRS investigators. These businesses tend to have at least some employees who are on the books for a portion of their salaries with the balance of their compensation paid in cash. Now, the defense for this, there isn't any. There's no defense for this kind of stuff, and it can be mounted against the IRS to put together. All they got to do is put together 5 or 6 employees who will testify that they were paid in cash, even though the employees will admit that they did not report the cash on their own income tax returns. Here's your best bet. Clean up your act right now. The payroll taxes saved by paying employees with cash is not worth the legal expenses and the potential time away from home if you do something that's really, really bad. And so that's exactly what I'm telling you here. And then finally, how about this? What happens if you're arrested by the IRS? You know, many times a grand jury will be presented with the aspects of a case as portrayed by the government attorney. An indictment will be issued and an arrest warrant will be executed. IRS agents will show up at your door or place of business and inform you that you're under arrest. You'll then be handcuffed and transported to a federal district courthouse for processing, fingerprinting, and a mugshot, and a bail hearing. The entire process takes about a day, and if you have no prior criminal convictions, bail will be set and you'll probably be able to go home that night. In more complicated cases, you might have to stay overnight in jail until a bail package can be negotiated with the assistant U.S. attorney assigned to your case. But be careful. During that car ride to the courthouse, the special agents will encourage you to make incriminating statements. Be polite, but tell them that you don't want to talk to them until you've actually met with your attorney. That is the best advice I could ever give you. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to be with our own Sean LaFave in his ongoing series, the Geared for Wellness series. We'll be right back after these brief messages. I'll let you know when. I'll let you know when. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:33 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 75 degrees, down from 79 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, I know he's waiting in the wings because he's been coughing, he's been talking, he's been doing all these things. But let's go ahead and get him in here so we can do it in a way that makes us sound professional. Okay, Sean, now you can talk. Apparently, I wasted my time sending all of those instructions out to you and everybody else. Well, you know, I was actually already on my phone texting you as you came through, and when you came through, I was just able to put that down. You know, unfortunately, there's been a lot of snafus today because I have all this new equipment, and I had a difficulty getting it running properly, and then I hit the wrong button, and I thought I turned something off, and I didn't turn it off, and then I figured out how to get it back on again. I've been worried about how the phone calls were going to come through, and now I know that I was justified in worrying about it. But I do know that, you know, we've got David Garrett calling in for On the Law here after your 3 segments are up, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is going to happen. Yeah. Well, you know, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, my friend, I'm glad to have you here. Well, I'm really, really excited. We are just, it's just fantastic. Right now, we're on Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time on Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, MyCast Live Radio, countless terrestrial stations worldwide. I'm broadcasting right now on Roar 1776 Radio, and we do that every Friday on Roar from 4 to 6. In addition to that, our show goes on to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube. And next week, I think, or the week after that, we actually go on iHeartRadio. So I'm really excited about all the stuff that's going on here today. But it's all new equipment, and it's all Greek to me. Well, this looks very much like Slovakia. All right. Oh, so you're not you can't actually hear the commercials when they're running? Oh, really? Well, yeah, I'm a little worried too. I don't understand why you're getting dead silence. But in any event, and I'm afraid to touch any buttons here, so I'm not going to do that. But I'll find out if you are or you aren't supposed to be listening to this. But in any event, I do know that this is going out because I'm looking at the I don't know what the hell they call these things, indicators or whatever they are, and they're bouncing all over the place. Okay. All right. So what do we have on the agenda for today? Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I do. But I thought it was now legal in California. I know that the Napa Rose, one of my favorite restaurants, actually is serving foie gras. I thought that there was just a recent law change where they were allowing it. Mhm. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you because I have a feeling you can't hear this bumper music, and we're running a little over. I'm going to go ahead to a commercial break, and then we'll be right back after this break. You'll know when we're back on the air. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave with his Geared for Wellness Corner. We were talking about duck frog raw, and we were talking about what is and isn't good for you in a diet. So, Sean, you've got the microphone. All right, so that's making that figures that makes my life really really terrific. I don't understand how that is going to work, and I'm not sure how to fix that, to be honest with you. So basically, let's see here. I'm gonna hit a help button and see if there's any help available. So. Okay, let's see. Well, and I can't talk and type at the same time. That's kind of a problem. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if that does anything. See if I get a. Let's see. I might actually have an answer to this thing. It doesn't tell me anything. You know what? I think, Sean, what I'm going to wind up having to do is I'm just going to cover the rest of this show myself because I can't hear you. I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Call me back on my cell phone, will you? Yeah. Okay, so listen, I think I've got a solution to this whole thing. Sean's going to call me back on my cell phone. I'm going to get rid of this cockamamie stupid thing I got going on here. Hopefully I can figure out a way that we're going to be able to listen to him. And I actually think I do have the solution to this. Okay, here he comes. And let's see. Sean, are you there?
I'm here, Robert.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the diet, the duck frog raw, and all that stuff. I've kind of Mickey Mouse this thing together. In the meantime, let's see if this picks you up.
Okay, that sounds great. I know you sound a little hollow to me right now, like you're tin can sort of, but we'll look into this, figure it out by next show. Yeah, that's because you're hearing. That's because I got a headphone, a microphone, and the other phone sitting here. So I apologize for it. All right, no problem. So obviously, on the last segment, I gave the secret to the house to you. I said at the end of the segment that I would never repeat those words again. So sorry to all those listeners that we got to go read that. Now we were talking about the law and how that's basically French really translates to liver fat or fatty liver, and how we create that fatty liver in the duck is by feeding it sugar. And of course, when most people think of creating a fatty liver, they probably think of alcohol, but most people don't think of sugar. And we were saying that, of course, it was illegal to serve football in California for a while because the animal rights activists were upset that we were feeding so much sugar to these ducks that was making their liver fatty. But of course, they didn't seem to have a problem with us feeding that much sugar to our children willingly. The children, of course, eat all that sugar. But what I was talking about the last segment really was getting people to understand a different way of thinking, not really to follow a roadmap to how to eat better, although that can certainly be developed, but really is to think differently and have an understanding of how food works and what it does to your body and why it is that certain diets, like a low-fat diet, will actually lead to obesity. Because of, usually when you see those diets, you can just assume higher sugar content. So I'm all about, let me teach you a better way to think. Let me bust some of those myths out there about food. And so when you do get to the point where you're eating on your own, even if obviously, with some of the sugar, we all know that sugar, something you need to cut out of most diets, but most people don't realize how much sugar there is. I'm personally big into reading labels. Anytime I buy something, I just look over the back of the can or the back of the box or whatever, and I read that label, and I'm going to say, I want to see what is in that. If there are certain ingredients that I just don't bet on, like monosodium glutamate or hydrogenated oils or any type of artificial sweetener. If it's in there at all, I won't do it. There are some that I prefer to stay away from, but if it's in there, I know I can't find a good substitute. It's a one-time thing or whatever. I'll deal with it. But there are some that I just don't ever put in my body. Speaking of this, I had Robert here and have to keep me on track here because I'm not a clock with a music degree.
Oh yeah, I know. I want to tell you, I don't know how I'm doing what I'm doing, but whatever it is that I'm doing, I know it's not the proper way to be doing it.
Hey, I saw a quote by Jim Rohn the other day. It says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you'll never be great if you don't start. So, it doesn't matter. We're making it happen, and we'll figure it out along the way.
Absolutely.
I remember the first show I did. Not the first show. I go to the second show when I had Dr. Ryan Muller on. I'm sure Stan went through it. He just kind of sat back for a little while and let me give a lot of ups and ahs and try to figure out what to say next. It was kind of funny. So it's all good. But, I was talking to someone, I had this conversation.
Well, I'm gonna stop you because we've got about 30 seconds before we go for a commercial break, and I want you to give out your contact information.
Oh, okay. So I'm Sean LaFave, and if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can contact me by going to my website at gearedforwellness.com, and you can also just email me directly at gearedforwellness@gmail.com.
And we'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness group right after these brief messages. Don't go away. Okay, so I think, hang on here a second. Why is this not working? Well, I know you can hear me, I just can't see me. Let's see here, recent favorites. Let's see. I don't even know how to. I'm not sure how to. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll put you back on a speaker when I have to get this thing going. Let's see. We've got another segment with you, but I actually got to put a cue in here if I can find the damn thing. There it is. Okay, got that there, and then I'm going to go with, got that. Okay, I think I'm ready to go on that. So I'm going to put your speaker, I'm going to put you on the speakerphone so we'll get this thing cooking here. We've got a minute 54 seconds to go. I should have known that with all this new stuff we put in and all the troubles I was having, that wasn't going to go through without some kind of snafu. Okay, I'm going to put you on a speaker right now. That's how I'm getting this thing to work. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? For our first segment, you only got half our conversation. You got me talking to Sean, but you couldn't hear Sean talking to me. Now we've got Sean talking, but he's talking over my my iPhone right into the speaker on my headset to try to accommodate what's going on. So I apologize to you. Hopefully by Monday I'll have this figured out. I'm an old guy learning new tricks. But in the meantime, Sean, let's get back into that diet conversation that you were having.
All right, so now I'm talking about busting this. And really, the thing that I love to do is I like getting people to the point where the light bulb comes on and they really start thinking about their dietary lifestyle habits and such in a really different way. And the one conversation that I love having most because I never had one person know the fact about caffeine that is actually the truth about caffeine. Most people have no idea how caffeine works. And so I love giving this example of how when something's repeated enough, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, you just kind of accept it, especially if on the outward appearance it matches with what we've heard. Now, of course, everyone thinks caffeine, they think stimulants, right? They think, okay, I'm drinking caffeine, it's giving me energy. Now, you would assume. Robert?
I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm gonna have to take one of these headphones off my ear because I got headphones on my ear and I can't hardly hear what you're saying. Okay, so what was it you asked me?
The question is, when you think of caffeine, you think of caffeine as a stimulant.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's every person I've ever talked to. I think there's funny that I had a couple of doctors that I've talked to, the truth on this one, but the fact is caffeine is not a stimulant, and everyone thinks that it is. And here's, I love using the analogy of the automobile when I'm talking about healthcare, because most people understand automobiles because they drive, they at least understand I'm not talking about tearing down carburetors, I'm just talking about the basic function of the car. Mm-hmm. And so, the way caffeine works is you have what's called adenosine receptors in your body. Now, adenosine is a purina nucleoside, and that really doesn't mean anything, but what it is, it's a particle that binds to the receptors in your cells. Every cell in your body has receptors for this, and what happens is the caffeine mimics that nucleoside, and it attaches to the receptor in the cell, and what it does is it blocks the signal to the central nervous system. Now, adenosine, the way what it does is adenosine, as the day goes on, your body builds up abundance of it. You build up more and more of it throughout the day. And adenosine is responsible for slowing your body down. So if you think of a car, you take in calories, that's like the fuel that you're filling. Adenosine is like the braking system of your car. And so it does slowly build up throughout the day, and it slows you down, and eventually adenosine is what's responsible for getting you to the point where you're tired enough and you'll go to sleep. Now, caffeine mimics adenosine in the body, and it binds to the adenosine receptors, but it doesn't give your body the ability to slow down. So in essence, what caffeine does is like driving a car and taking a block of wood and sticking it behind the brake pedal. And you're driving down the road and you just can't slow down. The car just keeps you out. It's like you're going downhill or something like that. Or you can't even let go because you've eaten this big bowl of pasta, or you have some sort of sugary meal or something. Your body's got lots of energy, but you can't get the braking system. Now your car's just going faster and faster. And that's why when people wake up in the morning, they say, oh, I need to talk to me until I got my first cup of coffee. It's because the caffeine has worn out, and all that abundance of energy that it's built up in the body the day before is now able to fill in those gaps where the caffeine was, and all of a sudden now the braking system is starting to work in the morning when it should have been working last night. So now the morning comes here, your car's starting to put on the braking system, your body's starting to slow down. And so you have to have a cup of coffee with some caffeine in it.
David, you're on a line. Stay with me.
had Cardoza creating a whole slew of problems with people metabolically speaking. I love Red Bull. I'll be honest with you. I like the taste of it, and when I need energy and I haven't drank it before, I actually really enjoy a little bit of energy that gives me. But I know it's not good for me. It's especially not good for anyone who drinks it on a regular basis. Same thing with soda, Pepsi, Coke, whatever you're drinking. Anything with caffeine, because what it does is it inhibits your body to bind to those adenosine molecules in your cells, so that when the day you sleep at, your body can put on those braces and slow down and eventually go to sleep.
Well, I think I'm kind of lucky. I've never had a Red Bull, so I don't know what kind of effect it would have. I'm guessing it's just super loaded with caffeine. I'm not a big sugar person. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. You've met my wife Marlene, and she drinks her coffee with cream and sugar, right? Well, I drink my coffee black and have for years and years and years and years and years. If she accidentally puts the spoon that she stirred her coffee with in my coffee, I can taste that sugar.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah, when you're not used to eating a lot of sugar, it just comes right through. It's powerful, and you're right. That's a big part of the Red Bull. Is the caffeine. It's not a ton of caffeine in Red Bull. There's a plenty in there, trust me, but it's not as much as even a cup of coffee. But it also has some sugar, which is it's got taurine, which is also good for helping your body produce energy naturally. So it's got these amino acids that really help. So Red Bull was actually developed by a salesman, international salesman. He was traveling over in Asia, and he saw these taxi drivers and all these business people with little cups that were just kind of sipping out of them. And he finally asked them, so what is that? What you guys saw? It's amino acids, it's got taurine, it's got caffeine. It was this little small, insignificant drink, and he tasted it. So it tasted horrible, but it worked really well. It gave him energy, it helped him overcome his jet lag from going over to Asia. He thought this was amazing, and we need to bring this back to the United States. And of course, here in the U.S., we have to add a bunch of sugar, and we have to add carbonation to it, not but the original one was probably a fairly decent product. Something that really wasn't all that unhealthy for you. But, of course, over there, they consider big chug, not big, 8 ounce or 10 ounce or 12 ounce or 16 ounce can at one time. So, that's the problem. And what we do in this country is we tend to do things in excess. Was caffeine bad? No, I personally drink espresso. And again, that's another myth. Most people think
30 seconds.
We'll continue this. I'll just tell you that regular drip coffee has far more espresso or caffeine in it than espresso does. And that's another that we can talk about next week. But anyway, it's been a fun day. We're working on I'm just super glad that we're on the show together, and then I know next week we'll have a little camera up, and you guys can hear me talking and hacking any other time.
It'll be much better next week. I apologize, and I know it's been a lot of fun for you because I'm on here on the hot seat. But anyway,
I love it.
Have a great weekend, my friend, and I'll talk to you next week, and hopefully I'll have this thing mastered and taken care of.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, and we'll be right back with our own David Garrett on the law after these brief messages. Don't go away. Okay, David, can you hear me? Okay, all you got to do is hang up. Okay. David? Okay. You're gonna have to speak up a little bit because we're having some technical problems. For some reason, I can't get the phone call into the system here, so I'm Mickey Mousing it, and so I'm holding my phone up to my microphone, and that's how I'm getting your side of it out. So you're not going to be able to hear anything. I'll let you know when you've got like 30 seconds to give the information out. Is that okay? Okay. And you'll be able to hear because I'll be using the speaker side of my phone. In the meantime, we've got about a minute and 45 seconds. We're broadcasting to a lot of people. We've had a lot of foul ups, but really just on the phone call part. I've hit a couple buttons I wasn't supposed to hit, but basically when I get off the air, I'm gonna make a couple of phone calls, and I ought to be able to get this thing hopefully resolved. This what a snafu this has been. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to put you on the speaker on my phone, and I'm going to put my headphones back on. I'll be able to hear you. You'll know when you're back on because I'll announce you back on, and you'll know when you're back on, and then we'll just kind of wing it. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, good. So I'm going to just be a little quiet. You'll know when we're back. We'll be back in 45 seconds. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:07 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 75 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire. That's down from 79 degrees on its way to 50 in sunny Southern California. But you know what? He's waiting in the wings. Hopefully we can get him in here, even though we're kind of Mickey Mouse and everything today. But we're going to talk to our own David Garrett on the law. Let's get him in here. Just one sec, Dave. Hey, David, welcome aboard. This has been a kind of an unbelievable experience. I've got more equipment going in here than Carter's got liver pills, trying to make this whole system work. But I can tell you that you are reaching out to many more people than we ever have in the past. So I'm excited about that. Hey, listen, I don't know what you're going to talk about today, but I'm anxious to hear what your thoughts are with regard to this North Carolina man, or South Carolina.
Well, that's kind of what I thought we'd go over is Mr. Scott.
Yeah. I mean.
What a travesty.
Oh, jeez. You know. I suppose that barber that took all those videos, we could consider a hero. He takes a picture of a cold-blooded murder, in my opinion. And what was to keep that cop from just making a 90-degree turn to his left and shooting the guy with the camera?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's sitting there blinking away at the guy. What did he shoot 8 times? 10 before. I wonder where the other 4 bullets went.
Well, I heard one grazed his ear, which means that it was, 2 inches from a headshot, right?
Yeah.
And the way the guy was running away, David, why didn't he shoot him in the leg?
I have no idea. I just don't understand this.
And he could have walked fast and caught him anyway. The guy wasn't running that well anyway, and I suppose it's because of the effect that the taser had on him.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It just seemed like he could just jump, try to get out of there.
Yeah.
I didn't understand this. Yeah. It all started over something to do with the rear view, one of the lights.
Well, one of the lights on his car weren't operative, right? And he winds up dead. Go figure that one out. No.
Before we run on him too much, there's another case kind of similar to this that actually started, started isn't the right word, sets the standard for what police officers use in deadly force is. As I look at this, I found it kind of interesting. It's, let me see if I can tell you when the year was. 1985,
Oh.
He was unarmed at the time, too. And the officer was reasonably sure that, the suspect was unarmed. I think he got caught with $10 if you, maybe a purse, very minimal items that he actually took out of the case, out of the house. So this little case here prompts first they look at it to see whether criminal charges should have been filed. Everybody says no criminal charges. And the father of the deceased kid files a civil lawsuit. And this goes back and forth between the courts and eventually winds up in the U.S. Supreme Court where they get into a discussion of what the police officers' duties are, when he's considered a threat. Now, believe it or not, you've got a historical perspective here. Crimes are generally broken down into what are misdemeanors and felony offenses. And there was a law in common law that, common law just refers basically to historical law. The police could use deadly force anytime the person was a felon. And in the misdemeanors, you couldn't do that. Tennessee had a very liberal use of force law that, where did it say? The statute basically said they could use deadly force against an apparently unarmed, undangerous suspect. They can use all force necessary to prevent the escape.
Really?
Yeah.
All
doesn't say that anymore.
Oh, I hope not. Hey, David, give out your contact information. We've got 30 seconds before we have to go to a commercial break.
Okay, the number is 909-945-5000, and we can be reached on the web at www.lawbbg.com.
And we're talking to our own David Garrett on the law. We'll be right back after these brief commercial moments and talk some more about some of the inequities of what the old law was, what the new law is, and perhaps maybe just theorize what may be going to happen to this police officer in South Carolina. So don't go away. We'll be right back with David Garrett on the law after these brief messages. Okay, Dave. Well, you know what? Tons of stuff, but I have all this new equipment, and we've been working on it, and I thought we had all the bugs out, but apparently the bug for people calling in and being put on the air hasn't been taken care of. I had a few little minor mishaps as I got started on the air. Basically, right now, we're broadcasting on Spreaker Radio Network, Blog Talk Radio Network, MyCast Live Radio Network, countless terrestrial stations worldwide. I'm also broadcasting today on Roar 1776, the radio network, and I do that every Friday from 4 to 6. And we're now broadcasting, and everything's available on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube. And in 2 weeks, it'll be available on iHeartRadio.
Oh, wow.
So if I can, that is if they don't throw me off the damn air because of this mess here today. But I think they suspect the first time out of the box with all this new equipment to be a little weird.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's very nice.
Yeah, and then oh, you know what? I automatically pick up just with Roar, just them alone. I'll pick up 100,000 listeners. Because they're a small station that goes out, pretty well. They're really just kind of getting started, and so it's on the ground floor with them. So I pick up 100,000 listeners with them, but there'll be just unbelievable countless people picking it up. I noticed today that there was another station I never heard of before, and I can't pop into it because I don't know how the hell I found it. that is actually picking up this thing that is, although I've got a lot of stations I never heard of before. Yeah. You know what? It's not all that bad because I had most of it. It was just a conversion and loading in some software, and so I've got a few $100s involved in it. But I had to buy some cables, and I had to buy some broadcasting software and stuff like that, which is what I'm having the problem with here. And then I have to figure out a way that. I've got to see if there's a way that we can talk like we did before while the commercials are running, and but right now we can't do that. Like I've got my mic because it's so Mickey Mouse. I got my mic turned off so I can talk to you on the phone. But we're going to be back in 19 seconds, David. So stay with me. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:18 p.m. Pacific time. It's 73 degrees. It's getting cooler. It's getting more comfortable on its way to 51. We're talking to our own David Garrett on the law, and we're talking about not only some weird laws that have taken place that are no longer active, but we're going to be talking about this. We've been talking about this young man in South Carolina. So, David, you're on the mic. You know how horrible that sounds? I suppose that father collected some money for his son that we shot as he went over the fence.
Yeah, it does. It probably illustrates the apparent inequity. I don't know if it's inequity. It's the inadequacy of the law to remedy a situation.
Yeah.
You can't bring the child back to life. And the only thing the law allows is a recovery of money for something like, in that case, the child getting shot. It's like, the finality of that decision to use deadly force, it's really something that should be very severely limited in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, well, especially, if you think about this young man, he's 50 years old. He wasn't running. He was hardly able to hop because of the electrical current that had been shot through him. Anybody could have caught up with him, including that police officer. He could have been overcome easily. But when you think about that whole circumstances, I looked at that video, and there's a police officer like he's in a gun shooting range taking target practice. He just takes his old sweet time, pulls out his gun, and shoots off 8 shots, and thought nothing of it. He didn't rush over to the guy, do anything like that. He just very slowly walked over and handcuffed this guy as he was dying, and then very nonchalantly walks and then runs back to his taser or whatever it was, picks it up, goes back, drops it by the body to start making his excuses. I mean. Here's a guy that doesn't deserve any kind of leniency as far as I'm concerned at all. He not only killed an innocent man, But he has ruined the reputation of that entire police department.
Oh, he has, yeah. I don't know what to say about that. They're trying to cover the whole thing up. And what I heard out of it was Mr. Scott initially started jumping out of his car and running because he thought he was flying on a child support warrant or something.
Yeah, he was 4 months behind in his child support.
Yeah, and there wasn't even a warrant out there for it.
I just how horrible is this,
Yeah, and this, I gotta say, in this particular case, I like the very prompt response of the superiors of that officer.
Well, you gotta, when they recognized that they were being lied to, when they had this video in front of them, they took immediate action, and they need to be, applauded for that.
Yeah. What was it, less than an hour after seeing it?
Yeah.
He was being charged with murder and incarcerated.
And that's the way it should have been.
It is. It's exactly what it should have been. There is nothing good that's going to come out of that of those events with Mr. Scott.
No.
I mean, the officer had, I think his wife 8 months pregnant. And then on the other side, the family's lost a child, or a father, I should say.
It just keeps getting worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, just goes downhill, all because of I don't know how you characterize that shooting. It's just callousness, or what it is. I talked to a couple of officers after that, after seeing the video, and they were just all absolutely shocked. And we kind of got into how does something like this happen. They thought there was some sort of mental instability on behalf of the officer that did the shooting, whether it was, before he became an officer or as a result of job exposure.
Yeah.
And I admit that the officers have a very tough job. They're dealing with a lot of nonsense that I wouldn't have why I have to deal with, at least in the setting that they are.
Well, don't get me wrong, because I am pro police officer. I mean, the last thing I want to do is be in trouble and have to call a congressman. The police are really out there to help you, and the majority of them are exactly that. They're dedicated officers that want to protect and serve. There are those few bad eggs that I don't know what the heck happened. Psychologically, I think if all they ever see is the very worst that society has to offer, then they begin to think that every human being is that way, and they start taking the law into their own hands, and that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah. And, the thing that was surprising to me in discussing this with some of these officers was there isn't a safeguard out there that that really is able to discern when somebody's hitting that tipping point.
Yeah. Hey, so listen, give out your contact information. We got 15 seconds for a commercial, and then we'll be back.
Okay, the number is 909-945-5000, and the website www.lawpbt.com.
And we'll be right back with our own David Garrett on the law right after these brief messages. Don't go away. Okay, that's it's actually recording. It's going good, but it's just not the right way. And I'm going to be so pissed off when I find out there's probably just one button I didn't hit. Yeah, that's just going to drive me bananas. You know what? The guy that helped me put this together is John Matthews. He's got all this same equipment and everything, and he's got another fellow named Mark Christian. And we put it together. We tested it. It all supposedly worked. And then, of course, today I was loading up all the sound effects and all of those kinds of things, and I went to test them and nothing worked, and then all of a sudden it did work. I don't know what the hell. I think this thing is very temperamental for some reason. You got to do it in exactly the precise sequence, or everything gets screwed up. There's parts of this that I like better than the other. The other board was quite simple to run. This board is very technically advanced, I should say. It's got all kinds of stuff in it, but it'll work great once I get comfortable with it.
Just that initial learning curve there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's just little nuances, little things that I'm just not accustomed to, and I'm sure I'll work my way through it. But I mean, some of the way the cues are and some of the other stuff is actually pretty cool. And the fact that we can actually broadcast to numerous stations and sites simultaneously, that's wonderful. Because in the past, what I've had to do was I would have to send out those sites the recordings of the show that I would do, because they couldn't unless they could get into Block Talk, they couldn't actually download them. Now they can have it live, or they can record it and play it at their leisure anytime they want.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Wow. This technology stuff's pretty amazing anymore.
Oh yeah. So let's see. This thing looks to me like I haven't got a damn clue. I think I've got about 70 seconds. What I'm going to do is, until I get used to this, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm going to go ahead and put the headsets on and get ready for it. So I'll be silent. You'll know when you're on, David.
Okay.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to our own David Garrett on the law. David, you've got the microphone.
Well, let me talk to you about another decision. This one's a little, it's only 4 years earlier than newer than the 85 one. And this one's Graham versus Cotter. And in this case, again, this happens down in Charlotte. And there was a diabetic individual that apparently knew his diabetes was getting out of whack. So he rushes to a convenience store to get orange juice to stop a sugar imbalance. Gets inside the store and finds the line is just longer than he chooses to wait for. Surrendered by anything or anything else, he just sets the orange juice down and leaves, and gets in a car with a friend, telling him to take him to another friend's house for food, because he simply had to get something in there. There was a police officer watching this, and when the guy ran into the store now in such a fast manner, it made her suspicious, and they stopped and the individuals and started questioning the diabetic about what the problem was. So, they asked him, he said, well, this is the problem. And the officer said, well, wait in the car until I check with the store to see what happened. Well, the diabetic person didn't wait. He gets out of his car. Once he gets out, he passes out breaking from the sugar imbalance. Some backup officers arrive, tell the diabetic guy to shut up, ram his head into a patrol car, and then throw him into the bathroom. There was no deadly result here. The guy with diabetes sustained minor injuries, arguing in a civil case that the use of force was excessive. This runs around the lower courts for a little bit. It gets up to the Supreme Court. And surprisingly, in this case, the court found that the actions of the officer were justified because of a reasonable belief that the force he was using was necessary to prevent or detect a crime in progress. So that's kind of how these use of force cases are actually looked at. They will apply a reasonableness to the actions of the officer, and if it's tied to some important governmental purpose, and it looks somewhat reasonable, then the case probably won't get into place. You know, the one we talked about with the kid shot in the back of the head, they applied basically the same reasonableness standard. And just found in that particular case there was no reasonableness. I mean, shoot the kid as he's climbing over the back of a fence. There's no way you can justify that. I think when you look at this Walter Scott case, applying the same reasonableness standard, I don't think anybody on this planet's going to conclude that what that officer did was reasonable under any circumstances. I mean, he paid the guy. The guy was no threat. He wasn't even a convicted felon, hadn't committed a felony, and is simply jawing away from the officer, gets shot at 8 times, struck 4, and results in his death. To add insult to injury, it's like you mentioned, the officer goes over there, picks his taser up, and then when I see the video, sure, that object he drops where it seems to be a taser. It may or may not be, but why go over, pick that up, then drop it next to the dead guy on the ground, and then as soon as the other officer gets there, reach down and pick it up if you're not trying to cover something up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, wouldn't you think that, hey, wherever it landed is where it stays? You don't go pick it up and move it.
Yeah, it's a lot of evidence of violations there.
Yeah.
Or statutes involving manufacturing evidence. So it just, he's going to get convicted of something, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, he's going to get convicted of murder.
Yeah. The question will be, how long is he going to get sentenced for?
Yeah.
I think he's looking at life. I don't know if the death penalty will be on the table, but he's going to go away for a long time for this.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be a cop in a local prison.
No, they got him on protective custody now.
Yeah.
Or he's going to commit suicide, so. That's a sad state of affairs all the way around.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. And you know what? It's interesting. When I was reading the news at the beginning of the show, and it becomes so depressing, David, because there isn't any good news. It's all bad news. It's all killings. It's all terror. It's all horrible things going on in the world today. And it's become the standard of what we expect. And what a shame that is. That this is just not the world I grew up in. It's certainly not a pleasant world today. Especially, I don't know about you. You ever drive late at night and you come up to a red light, there's nobody around anywhere, and all of a sudden a car pulls up next to you. You're scared to death to look at them because they might be pointing a gun at you. You're nervous until that light turns green and you can get the heck out of there. It's just bad stuff going on. Anyway, my friend, looks like we got through this thing. And why don't you go ahead and get that contact information out one more time, and let me finish off this show and see if I can't get a hold of somebody to ensure that Monday it'll be better.
Sure. The phone number is area code 909-945-5000, and the website is
Hey,
Bub, I hope you have a great weekend there.
thank you. And you go fishing, catch some big ones, and then we'll have us a barbecue.
That sounds good.
All right, buddy. You have a good one. You take care. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. And we've been talking to our own David Garrett on the law. We'll be right back with Secret Daily Teachings for Your Life, Harvard Business Tip of the Day, interesting but useless facts, and the birthdays for today. So don't go away. We'll be right back. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And, I want to apologize to you. I know we're having some technical problems here today. We're going to try and work those out. Somehow I don't think you're hearing the commercials or the sound effects. Had a tough time. You're not hearing the callers that are coming in. We'll try and get that fixed. And on Monday's show, I have it all resolved. But right now, you know what day it is? Sure you do. It's April the 10th, and it's somebody's birthday. And you know what? He was born in 1847, died in 1911. Publisher best known for posthumously establishing the Pulitzer Prizes and for originating yellow journalism along with William Randolph Hearst. We're talking about Joseph Pulitzer. And also, born in 1936, former head coach with the Oakland Raiders and later with the NFL, and the former color commentator on NFL telecasts, John Madden's birthday is today. And then finally, on April the 10th, born in 1984, singer, actor, and has sold more than 10 million records worldwide, Mandy Moore is his birthday today. Also, today in history, April the 10th, in 1710, the first law regulating copyright is issued in Great Britain. And in 1816, the United States government approves the creation of the Second Bank of the United States. And on April the 10th, 1874, first Arbor Day celebrated in Nebraska. And in 1957, the Suez Canal was reopened for all shipping after being closed for 3 months. Our quote for today comes from George Bernard Shaw, and he says, "Better never than late." Yeah, it's a play on those words, but that's what he actually had to say. Now, let's talk about those secret daily teachings for your life. If you make these your own, it's not only going to make your life better, you'll get things you never dreamed of, but it'll make everyone's life around you much better as well. The teaching for today is trust the universe. Trust and believe and have faith. I truly had no idea how I was going to bring the knowledge of the secret onto the movie screen. I just held to the outcome of the vision. I saw the outcome clearly in my mind. I felt it with all my might, and everything that we needed to create the secret came to us. Keep that in mind. It's a secret. The secret is, believe in yourself. It's self-confidence. That's what the secret is. Now, let's get to the Harvard business tip of the day. The management tip today is make office politics less personal. You know, one of the reasons office politics makes so many of us uneasy is that complex situations are difficult to read and impossible to control. When personalities and motivations intertwine, anything can happen. One tactic for handling office politics is to make its challenges less personal. If you begin to look at politics like a game, you win some, you lose some, you'll become more resilient and have some smarter responses when something takes you by surprise. If a situation starts to feel too personal, try to avoid looking at your opponent in the eye. In many cases, or many business situations, eye contact is crucial. But in this case, averting your gaze can help you remain calm and avoid the fight or flight impulse that rises when you feel under attack. Keeping an even keel enables you to react more thoughtfully, offer productive suggestions, and regain control of that situation. That is your Harvard business tip for today. Now, let's talk about some interesting but useless facts. First off, did you know that a necropsy is an autopsy on an animal, any animal? How about this? Absolutely pure gold is so soft that it can be molded with your hands. And let's see here. Did you know that indoor pollution is 10 times more toxic than outdoor pollution? There's a scary thought for you. So if you folks just hang around the house, you're not doing yourselves any favors here. How about this? Coca-Cola's super pure Dasani bottled water is just filtered tap water. Did you know that? Think about what you're paying for that by the gallon, folks. How about this one? More than 10 people a year are killed by vending machines. Don't ask me how. Don't know. How about this? You know, a diet high in fat is said to impede memory. Need to ask our own Sean LaFave about that. That would be an interesting subject to be talking about. How about this one? More Americans have died in car accidents than have died in all the wars ever fought by the United States. Wow. There's a serious number for you. How about this? Grapes explode when you put them in the microwave. Yep, that water boils out and boom, and there it goes. Here's one for you. You know, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson was the first video to air on MTV by a black artist. Boy, you know what? Do you remember it? What a fantastic video that was. Did you know that it's illegal to eat oranges while bathing in California? It's the law, guys. Go figure. You know, the striped billiard balls weigh 1/10 of 1 ounce or so more than the solid billiard ball. Yep, yeah, you heard me right. How about this? The rose family of plants, in addition to flowers, gives us apples, pears, plums, cherries, almonds, peaches, and apricots. Yep, a rose by any other name, right? Isn't that wonderful? How about this? The record for the biggest one-day rainfall was set on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean on March 15, 1952, where 74 inches of rain fell in 24 hours. Now there's a fact for you. Scary one, but it's a fact. Try this on for size. The 100-Year War actually lasted 116 years. Lasted from 1337 to 1453. And the average child will eat 1,500 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches by the time that he or she graduates from high school. 1,500. You know, that doesn't really sound like that many if you think about it. 18 years, 1,500. That's less than 100 a year. That's one every 3 days. That sounds about right. Did you know that all U.S. presidents have worn glasses? Some just didn't like being seen wearing them in public, but they all wore glasses. And did you know that for people that are lactose intolerant, chocolate aids in helping milk digest easier? Wow, I didn't know that. I got to tell my son-in-law about that. See if it works anyway. He'd be a perfect try on that. How about this? Kleenex tissues were originally used as filters in gas masks. There's an interesting thought for you. Now, let's see here. You know what? I think what we're going to do, because we're having so many problems here today, we're going to just close the show, because I've got an opportunity to get some of this stuff fixed, and we'll just look at today as an archive show and see that it was a test show. I want to thank you for listening to Robert Cardoza Live at the intersection of business and politics. Robert Cardoza Live broadcasts on Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, MyCast Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide. Every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. I also broadcast on Roar 1776 Radio every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com and email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. Now, Monday, my expert contributor is going to be John Hanson, that little old wine drinker, talking about food and wine. My special guest will be John Kurth, our Wizard of Words, talking about the syntax of success. I encourage you to tell all of your friends about my show. Good night, everybody. Mm-hmm.